call this meeting to order and have Kaylin Davis come up and lead us in the pledge.
The pledge allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
I wanted to let everyone know that Bob and Don are both out tonight due to unforeseen circumstances. Or they wouldn't be here. We need approval of the agenda with an amendment adding 2 ordinances under new business.
I make a motion that we approve the minute.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, passes. Right, now for our school recognition. Our student today is from Zebulon Middle School, GT Magnet Middle School, excuse me. The Zebulon Magnet Middle School Outstanding Student for the month of June 2019 is Kaylin Davis. Kaylin is a 7th grader at Zebulon Middle School, and she is a phenomenal representation of our school. She works hard academically, maintaining A's and B's in her classes. Because of this demonstration of academic excellence, she has been invited to apply for the National Junior Honor Society. In addition to working hard in her classes, she is a leader among her peers. She serves as a Zebulon Middle School Student Ambassador, a Zebulon Middle School Student Council member, and she is a member of the Zebulon Middle School Yearbook staff. Caitlin is an awesome person. And Caitlin, I'd like to present with you a certificate and a so thank you so much. Our teacher is Morgan Collins. Okay. Morgan Collins was born and raised in Raleigh, North Carolina, and attended the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, where she received a Bachelor's of Education with concentrations in Science and Social Studies. She is a product of Wake County Public School System and knew that she had to return and teach here once she graduated because of the many amazing educators that she had over the years. Ms. Collins has been teaching for 4 years at Zebulon GT Magnet Middle School, alternating between science and social studies for 7th and 8th grade. In addition to being an educator, Ms. Collins has been the yearbook advisor for 3.5 years, school improvement team co-chair, and a member of the digital portfolio team and National Junior Honor Society advisor. Teaching has always been what Ms. Collins wanted to do, and Zebulon has truly allowed her to grow while doing what she loves. Thank you, Ms. Collins. This month is National Parks and Recreation Month, and we have a proclamation. Proclamation designating July as Park and Recreation Month. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including the town of Zebulon, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community and region. And whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas the parks and recreation programs increase the community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the town of Zebulon recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Commissioners of the town of Zebulon that July is recognized as Park and Recreation Month, proclaimed this third day of June, 2019.
You'll need a motion.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the proclamation.
Second.
All in favor? All right, now we have a public hearing on our budget for 2019-2020.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. Tonight is your public hearing for the 2020 budget. I'll go over a brief outline. This is much briefer than the budget message that was presented to you last month. We'll go over the budget schedule and process. Once again, I'll give an abbreviated budget message, and then we'll open it up for public hearing. As far as the budget schedule, we kicked the budget message off on May 6th, where we outlined the goals and features of the budget that was presented to you, and we noted the changes from the previous year and the programs and the appropriations. Then we had 3 scheduled work sessions. We had to combine 2 of those work sessions into one because of the tornado, so the one on May 14th was canceled, and we rolled that into the one on May 22nd, and then we had one late last week. At those work sessions, we provided the details of some of the programs that were put before you, and at each of the budget work sessions, we opened it up for public input. Budget ordinance public hearing is tonight, and as far as when you can adopt the budget ordinance, once you complete the public hearing, you will have met all the state statutes, and so you can adopt the budget ordinance tonight. You can declare a work session for June 12th, just as long as you adopt the budget not later than July 1st per the state statutes. As far as the budget message, goals, and features, we reviewed that Zebulon is changing. Specifically, the population is growing and diversifying. We're growing by 1 person a day, and given the latest planning data I've seen, we're probably getting closer to 2 people a day. 64% of that is net migration, so people from outside the county, outside the state, and in some cases outside the country. 36% of that is the natural increase. That's the birth rate exceeding the death rate. But also the use of land is changing. So where we were growing tobacco, we have 911 acres that have been approved for development. And we've got prospectively 650 acres more along the way. And so the question for this budget was, will we have the capacity to meet this change, meaning can we handle the volume? Or will we also have the capability to meet this change, which is can we handle that diversity that's coming our way? And we reviewed how Zebulon had changed before, that we will have the capacity and the capability to meet this change because we adopted the Zebulon 2030 strategic plan. So that's really what the budget is before you. It's how to enact the goals or the programs associated with the 2030 strategic plan that you adopted last year. In that strategic plan, you adopted a vision, and I should back up and say the 2030 strategic plan process was a year-long process with a lot of community engagement through surveys and focus groups. And through the collection of all that feedback, the citizens of this community identified that the vision that they had for the town of Zebulon was going to be a vibrant, growing community that retains its small town charm. The mission or the role or the purpose of the town government in achieving that vision was to enhance the residents' quality of life, to deliver excellent and friendly service, and foster collaboration within our community, knowing that the public sector, more specifically the government, can't do it all, that a collaboration with nonprofit organizations as well as collaboration with the private sector were essential to achieve that vision that was declared in the strategic plan. And we were going to do that by focusing on 3 focus areas: a vibrant downtown, growing smart, and small town life. So that's really how the budget was broken out that was presented to you last month, is different programs, different policies, different goals in those 3 focus areas. As far as the nuts and bolts, specifically the changes in appropriations, the amount of the budget actually went down. The expenditures went down close to $2 million. When you don't buy a fire ladder truck and a fire engine, it tends to do that. So that was a big purchase last year. Our debt has gone down considerably. We're still carrying the debt on this building, this municipal complex. We'll have that probably for, well, not probably, we will have that for another 10 years, but we've paid an awful lot of debt down. And with that, I'll open it up for, or allow you to open it up for a public hearing unless you have any questions of me.
Do we have anyone that wishes to speak? I guess seeing none, then we'll close the public hearing. Public comment period. We have 3 people that have asked to speak tonight. Our first one will be John Middlesworth.
Pass them around in case I run out of time. Ready?
I'm ready.
Good evening. With all that has taken place after the damages we have suffered after the tornado and the tremendous job our town's departments, employees, staff, neighboring communities, and citizens have labored long hours to return normalcy back to our town. I really hate to bring this subject up in comparison to what we've all experienced, but this is probably the only council meeting that I will be able to attend for some time, as I'm expected to be somewhat incapacitated later this month into July, healing from a heart ablation procedure if everything goes to schedule. This morning I contacted Jermaine Best with Waste Management concerning the rollout recycle carts in the alleyway between Vance Street and Horton Street. Only 2 green recycle carts contained recyclables, Muter Constructions. All the rest contained cross-contaminates, either everything from boards, plumbing, fruit, foodstuffs, and miscellaneous garbage. At the intersection of Horton and Arundel Avenue are 2 recycle carts, pictures, and 1 gray cart domed over with table scraps from a nearby restaurant that have been baking in 95-degree weather for the past week to 2 weeks. I have spent many hours resegregating the garbage and recyclables, breaking down boxes, and even hauling off to the convenience center bags of mixed contaminated recyclables. At one time, I placed trash placards on the recycle carts, but now the garbage truck drivers have told me that they could and would be written up and possibly dismissed for picking up a green can. According to Mr. Best, the recycle trucks all go to the separation facility, but once the truck is in excess of 10% contamination, they have to resend the truck back out to pick up the garbage and stand facing a large fine. Then the contaminated items are taken to the landfill. You can see the pressure placed on the drivers to either accept or refuse to empty a cart. After my last episode of being transported to the ER for this silly heart of mine, I've had to turn loose almost everything that I've been doing, trying to slow down, biding my time until the 28th. I simply can no longer do what I was doing. To me, the simplest solution, the solution is simple. Remove the green recycle carts from downtown and replace them with gray garbage cans. That's simple. They only have one truck, he picks it up at all. These folks, especially the ones moving in and out, clean out the buildings and load everything into any container they can get a hold on. Mr. Best agrees that this alleyway is one of the trouble spots in town. The other side of the coin is put dumpsters. Charge the property owners and let them charge the tenants. I'm pretty sure one dumpster would take care of all 5 or 6 businesses in that one area. Most of the businesses are just busy taking care of business and really don't focus on recycling. The owners are not the ones who take the trash out. It's their employees. They are just wanting to get the trash out. If someone wants to recycle, fine, give them a green cart. But there is one in the alleyway, your other picture, on the corner beside Horton Street has been upside down for almost a year. A good amount of everyday trash is not taken out the back door to the carts in some cases, but rather taken out the front door to the sidewalk cans. I emptied those cans from Harris's Barber Shop all the way to Zebulon Drug. Every day, 365 days out of the year, I know the garbage that's in those trucks and I recognize the businesses and from whence it came. Almost 30 years ago, when Charlie Horn was the town manager, he asked me to help kick off the recycling program, beginning with helping distribute those little green bins throughout the neighborhoods. This has and is near and dear to my heart, and I believe one person's efforts can make a difference in almost anything. I have tried different angles and I've talked to different folks. I was even willing to pay for an additional gray cart for one business friend of mine, but Miss Connie vetoed that idea. I'm addressing this one final time. This is it, my final attempt. My concern is simply that I don't want my efforts and the efforts of everybody else in the downtown area, residents, and those who spend time and money washing out containers, separating and storing items in separate bins to come to nothing more than a delay to end up in the landfill. My conscience is clear now, and I've done all I can do about the subject. I will not bring this matter up again. I place this in your hands to work out. You have so many other pressing, important items to take care of. But when there is a moment and things slow down a bit, perhaps a solution can be found. Thank you all.
Thank you, John. Next up to speak is Mary Beth Carpenter.
Hi there. Greetings, Commissioners. Preservation Zebulon wishes to thank you for the consideration of our nonprofit grant to utilize this Wakelawn facility and hold a scan-a-thon of old photos and a session for our Zebulon Memory Project, where we're trying to capture, preserve, and archive anecdotes and stories of Zebulon and its pre-1980 history. Also, I just want to say a quick word about our National Register nomination. Firefly Consulting has sent Preservation Zebulon, the State Historic Preservation Office, and Joe Moore a listing of 283 properties that will comprise our potential National Register Historic District. Preservation Zebulon right now is in the process of capturing the owner names of those properties, and we will soon be sending out a letter to all property owners identified, explaining the initiative and the process. And we also understand that this will help with your facade grant process in the downtown area as well. A member of the commissioners here do have houses that are going to be in that potential historic district as well as your friends. If you get phone calls or emails about this from people in the community, we just invite you to please send them on to us. And we also want to let you know we have updated the information on our website, which is www.preservationzebulon.org. It was updated as of yesterday. And we thank you for your assistance and your support of preservation and heritage in our town. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last speaker, Denise Snell, Zebulon Chamber.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and members of the board. On behalf of our Town Chamber Partnership and the Chamber's Board of Directors, we just wanted to give you a couple of updates that I think would be interesting for you to know about. So you heard a little bit about Eno Neo's story at our work session last week, and some of you attended their ribbon cutting back a few months ago, and you might have connected with them at the annual meeting. So Cecile and her business partner Chuck are doing a lot of good things, and they're very passionate about making a difference for downtown. They've invited you to join them at Business After Hours this Thursday, and the public is invited as well. It's Thursday from 5:30 to 7 at their location. So we hope you can join us. Another economic development update is about Blue Thumb Farms. It's about the personal passion of Mary Cove and Allison Culbreth. They are two female scientists that met while they were in school at NC State. They are hydroponic farmers, and they launched Blue Thumb with the idea of their using their scientific expertise to create sustainable fresh produce for their local community. So they were just getting started last year, and they chose one farm fresh market to participate in, and it was Zebulon. That was the only market they participated in. They specialize in non-GMO, hydroponic, sustainably grown lettuces like arugula, romaine, kale. And they felt like the value of participating in a farm fresh or a local market was not only were they able to get immediate feedback from customers, but the people that were actually eating their food were the ones that were giving them the feedback, if that makes sense. So it was really nice to have that one-on-one, but also almost instantaneous. It also helped with some of their social media efforts, because those people that had tried their product and were happy with them were able to then go and do reviews on social media and say, hey, you should try them. So since last year, Blue Thumb has moved into multiple produce delivery companies, and that's opened the door for even more opportunities for them. At the market last year here in Zebulon, they were able to sell 50 to 100 of their clamshells, which is that kind of square box that you see that lettuces come in. And now they're selling between 2,000 and 3,000 a week, which is amazing growth for them. So when I told them that I was planning to share an update with our board tonight, Mary asked me specifically to let you know that they 100% local farm fresh markets, and that they loved being part of Zebulon's market last year. So wanted you guys to know that. And their farm, if you don't know, is actually in Zebulon. It's Zebulon address, so hooray for that. Last week, the News and Observer shared data from a recent Census Bureau. The census shows a shift in Wake's population growth toward the east, emphasis on east, with Wendell, Zebulon, Rollsville, and Garner all growing by 6% or more last year. And then now with the opening of 540 and what's known as what we're now calling Interstate 87, developers, renters, and home buyers are increasingly looking our way. So I just want to put a little hashtag Zebulon Next there under that. A link to that full article will be in tomorrow's Chamber electronic newsletter if you want to read more about that. We're also attracting more of the businesses that our growing residential population will need. So Loving Hands Wellness and Primary Care opened just right across the street, actually. And Dr. Nana Arkhurst Arthur is excited about being part of the Zebulon community. You should all be receiving an invitation to their ribbon cutting, which will be next Thursday, the 13th. So the public's invited to that as well. I think they're going to have some yummy food there. We're always eager to share stories that tie back to goals that matter to you in the economic development future of Zebulon. So Eno Neo is an example of the Chamber advocating for placemaking, which helps us achieve a vibrant downtown and small town life. Blue Thumb Farms is an example of the town opening the door to help a small business get launched, which helps us all achieve growing smart, and our economic development partnership. And then Loving Hands Wellness is an example of the chamber supporting talent and small businesses that we need in Zebulon, which helps achieve growing smart and enhancing our small town life. So thank you all.
Next is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All that approve? Old business is our planning.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, fellow commissioners. The cases before you today were the cases that were heard at the May 21st joint public hearing. And I think what I have on my PowerPoint might be different than what's on the agenda. Which case do you have first? Do you have a?
Cardinal Pines.
Cardinal.
Okay. All right, so Cardinal Pines was a special use permit that was submitted by Dennis Tharrington. The address is 303 Pony Road. The existing zoning is transitional residential. The request Mr. Tharrington had was to construct multifamily apartments on the property zoned transitional residential. The unit count was 77 units. It was a 4-story building. It was age targeted, 55 and over, and it was a tax credited development. This is currently a vacant parcel. It's located south of the intersection of Gannon and Pony Road. This is the concept plan. This is a rendering of what the building would look like. As I stated before, it was heard at the May 21st hearing. Planning staff, because it's a special use permit, found that it met finding of fact number 4, and the planning board met later that night, and they recommend that the Board of Commissioners find that the project meets all the findings of fact. Staff did have some recommended conditions. The first was a sidewalk connection be made behind the building for connectivity and a proposed outdoor amenity. The second condition was the sidewalk connection from the front entrance of the building to the public sidewalk on Pony Road. And the third, it's really just some clarification so the developer knows that this project will have to go through the technical review committee to meet all the town of Zebulon code of ordinances. There's 4 actions that you can take tonight. The first one is to approve the application. The second one is to approve the application subject to reasonable and appropriate conditions and safeguards. The third is to deny the application, and the fourth is to table the application for a further study. And this slide is just some sample motions. I'll be glad to answer any questions. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions?
Mead, are they required to put a fence between the properties? Do you know, or are they going to?
As of right now, no. Depending on what kind of buffer they want to use, if they do construct a fence, they can reduce that buffer. That's an option. But with this plan, they're not proposing a fence, but that's something that you could add.
Yeah, I thought I'm not sure if this is the same one that came before us before, but they were going to they were required to put a fence up between, was it Zebulon House? And, you know, it's pretty close, isn't it? Zebulon House and Carolina Pines.
Is it? It's further down Pony Road?
Oh, it is?
Maybe around this location.
Okay, so that's another property between that.
No, but there is I guess they're calling them active adult developments now, located adjacent to this parcel. It's Zebulon Green, I believe.
Yeah, okay, that's the one we were talking about.
Okay.
Putting a fence between there and the Zebulon house. I didn't know if they were fence them off too. I'm not sure if that's the appropriate thing to do with that property.
Well, there would be similar uses. And then you have the commercial to the north, so it'd be up to the developer if they wanted to use a fence to reduce their buffer, but as of right now,
Okay.
they're not proposing a fence.
But when it comes time to put a buffer, is there any specifications on what it's supposed to look like? Because I've seen some buffers that's supposed to hide fences, and they put up little bushes like this right here. You know, I just wonder, is that do we specify what kind of buffer did they?
Right, so they would be either a type A, a type B, or a type C buffer. In most cases, we have land development standards that state that shrubs have to be 36 inches in height, and grow to a mature height. I'd have to look to see what our standards are, but as far as a quantity standpoint, I can find out. It's based on the existing use and the adjacent use.
I was just wondering, do they have to be head high? Do they have to be knee high? What kind of, or a berm? What is it that they have to have? What kind of buffer?
Well, if there would be a buffer, I would say the only place that they would be required to do it is along this northern property line based on whatever use this is, which I think is some sort of vacant commercial use. I don't know if that's residence or not.
I think that's
But-
country kitchen, and that's
Or the Hilliards.
where the hotel is, the motel.
I think it might be a vacant hotel.
Yeah, it is.
Well, let me just. This would be what we consider a Class C use, and it doesn't give a shrub requirement. It does give a tree requirement where trees are spaced every 20 feet.
But it looks like it could be a natural buffer, actually.
Well, and they could keep the existing vegetation. I
Yeah,
mean, but that's
yeah.
that's up to them, unless there's some sort of DWQ or dean or buffer that's requiring them to keep them up, which I don't believe is on that site.
Okay, mate, thank you.
Okay, there's something I forgot to ask you, commissioners, all of us. Or have any commissioners had any ex parte communication concerning this? Do you have any fixed opinion on it? You could make a decision. And then you just have to remember to consider all the evidence that was presented at the hearing. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve SUP 2019-01.
Second.
Excuse me, I need to ask.
Is that with the?
I'm sorry, mate, with conditions.
With
Is
the,
that,
was that with the recommended conditions?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so we're finding that it meets all the findings of fact, 1 through 4, with the addition of the conditions that staff recommends?
Correct.
Yeah.
It was seconded by Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay. Next one, SUP 2019-03.
This is another special use permit heard at the May 21st joint public hearing. The applicant is Amy Brown Pierce. The address of the property is 571 West Barbie Street. The existing zoning is residential 20. The proposal before you today is to construct an animal kennel on the property that's zoned residential 20. And as you recall, this property was recently rezoned to residential 20 for the purpose of Ms. Brown Pierce to construct a kennel on the property. Her parcel is this vacant parcel right here, and she owns the adjacent parcel to the north, which is the fetching post. This is a rendering of what the building would be constructed. The sides would be brick, and then with metal roofing. Case history, very similar to the previous one, was heard at the May 21st joint public hearing. Planning staff found that the project met finding of fact number 4, and the planning board recommends the Board of Commissioners find the project meets all the findings of fact. Staff had some recommended conditions with this permit as well. The first one is no outdoor animal activity from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. The second condition, no outdoor kennels. The third condition, any outdoor animal activity areas must be enclosed with fencing. And the fourth condition is, if she does wish to tie on to public utilities, that annexation petition is filed with the town of Zebulon. These are 4 actions that you can take tonight. The first one is that you can approve the application. The second one is to approve the application subject to the reasonable and appropriate conditions and safeguards. The third is to deny the application, and the fourth is to table the application for a further study. And this slide is just your sample motions. And that completes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion that we approve special use permit 2019-03 with the additions recommended by staff.
Commissioner, we also asked the questions about the ex parte communication.
Have y'all had any ex parte communication concerning this one?
I have.
Any fixed opinion? And just make sure you consider all the evidence that was presented. Yeah, would you
I
like?
made the motion. Is it still good? Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
The motion included the conditions.
Yes, it did. He did. All right, our next one is RZ 2019-04.
All right, this was a zoning map amendment heard at the May joint public hearing. The applicant is Dallas Pierce. The address is 0 North Arundel Avenue, and the existing zoning is residential 10. This is the subject site highlighted in yellow. The parcel to the adjacent west is currently vacant, owned by the same owner. And this is on the west side of North Arundel between MacGyver and Franklin. This is a zoning map. As you can see, the majority of the parcels along North Arundel are transitional residential district. And then in the yellow, the existing parcel and the adjacent parcels to the north and to the west have residential 10 zoning. This is the future land use map. The future land use map designates this area as traditional neighborhood. And the request before you today is to rezone the parcel from residential 10 to transitional residential. This was heard at the May 21st joint public hearing. Planning staff recommended approval, and planning board recommended approval with a 5-0 vote. The planning board's consistency statement was that they recommend approval of RZ 2019-4 based upon the consistency with the Town of Zebulon Comprehensive Plan, Zebulon Code of Ordinances, and any other official plan that is applicable. And that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve RZ 2019-04.
Second.
All in
Need
favor?
to, the motion needs to include the consistency statement as well. That you make the motion to approve it and
Consistent.
That is,
based on consistency with the Town of Zebulon plan.
okay. Based on the consistency of the statement.
Commissioners, if you look at your staff report, there's a third. Yep, there we go. It's on your screen.
You can read the screen. Will you read the statement that's on your monitor?
We never done this before, have we? I move we recommend approval RZ 2019-04 based on the consistency with the Town of Zebulon Comprehensive Plan, Zebulon Code of Ordinances, and any other official plan that's applicable.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Now we come to our new business. We have board appointments. Lisa?
Yeah, we have several applicants that have shown interest in serving on some of our appointed boards. On the planning board, we have 2 vacancies. David Covington is not seeking reappointment. He's unable to serve due to his employment. And then we have an ETJ position. Stephanie Jenkins would like to be reappointed to that position. We do not have an in-town person to fill David's position at this point in time. On the Parks and Recreation Board, we have 2 vacancies. Jimmy Harris and Anthony Brown are not seeking reappointment. Erica Parsons and Brandon Wiggins have both submitted applications and are interested in serving. For the ETJ position for the Planning Board, that is a recommendation to the Wake County Board of Commissioners to have them appoint her to that position.
We have a motion.
Yes, we'll have to have a motion. I would recommend doing 2 separate motions.
Okay.
One is a recommendation to the Wake County Board to appoint Stephanie Jenkins, and then the other would be for you to appoint those to the Parks and Recreation Board if you so choose.
I make a motion we appoint Stephanie Jenkins to the Wake County, recommend her to the Wake County for appointment to the planning board. Is that good, Lisa?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, for the Parks and Recreation.
Make a motion we appoint Erica Parsons and Brandon Wiggins to the Town of Zebulon Parks and Recreation Board.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, pass. next is ordinance 2019-41. And Joe?
Okay, having concluded the public hearing, you have met the state statutory requirements to adopt the budget
Oh.
ordinance.
Well,
You've got the two budget
you got the
amendments
two added
that were added?
ordinances.
Okay, I'll take that. You can keep your seat. I got it, yeah. I'm in it. I've gone this far. All right, so that's right, we did amend the budget. So there's a couple of budget amendments. The first one is we've got a project, police station masonry repair project. The reason this is coming before you and was added to the agenda was we had a bid opening late last week, and it just came after the agenda packets went out. One of the things that we're doing with this project is we've had some accidents behind the police station where we've had some people slip and fall, and we added some alternatives to that design. We didn't think we were going to be able to afford it, but the bid prices came in really good. Not so good that we could do the whole thing, but we want to transfer some savings from another project, specifically from some electrical work that was done on in Town Hall to this, so we can put down some waterproof and slip-resistant coating to the back entrances and the loading dock to the police station. And if you agree with that, we just ask that you recommend the approval of the attached ordinance 2019-41.
Have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2019-41.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, the next budget adjustment, that's from our planning department, and traffic impact analyses are things that you require developers to put forth. We don't have the technical expertise to evaluate those traffic impact analyses, so we have to hire a consultant. Currently, the way that we cover the cost of that is when the developer starts to put in the plats on their development, they pay the fee to cover the cost of that TIA. So there's a lag between when we receive the invoice from the engineer that we hire to review the TIAs and when we get the money from the developers. We will come back before you on a way to rectify that so we can match up the cost expenditure and the revenue closer, but right now we still have to deal with that gap issue. And so we need to recognize and roll in some monies before the end of the fiscal year to pay for some invoices to the engineer that we hired to review the TIAs. And we have the money within the budget. We had, because of some staff turnover, we have some lapsed salaries that can cover that cost. And if you approve it, we would ask that you adopt ordinance 2019-42.
All right, I move we adopt 2019-42.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, did I do okay?
Okay,
All right.
now,
Now the budget, all right. So now that you've completed the public hearing, you have satisfied all the state's statutes in order to be in a position to adopt a budget ordinance if you're so moved. So the discussion before the board is as follows. You can adopt the budget ordinance that was submitted to you back in May. You can modify the budget ordinance, or you can table the discussion until a work session on June 12th.
I'll make a motion that we adopt budget ordinance 2019-38.
Second.
all in favor?
Thank you.
All right, next is finance. It's the nonprofit funding distribution.
Good evening. You'll recall from the work session 1 and 2, the discussion that the group, the nonprofit committee, and I put before you with the scoring matrix and the no staff recommendation in that due to the current policy. In the budget ordinance you just adopted, includes $5,000 for nonprofits. If you wish to decide how to fund those groups now, this is the time to do it, if you choose. All those applications and those forms should be in your budget book from last time or 2 times ago. If anybody has any questions or comments.
Bobby, are these all tax exempt?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Do we do them individually?
Sure. Yeah, you can just, I think typically in the past we just y'all freely discuss and decide.
When do you distribute the money?
When?
Uh-huh.
Typically, if it's done, like tonight, some of them are coming in, sending their requests July 1. Most of the time.
Okay.
All of these.
I'll say so. I would like to see the Zebulon Downtown Arts Council, that we give them $1,000.
You would now.
Give Downtown Arts Council 1,000 of our 5,000.
Okay.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Do we have to do motions on that, or do them all?
You can discuss and figure out where you want to give it, and then do one full motion, but you can poll the board to see if they're interested on each one as you talk about them.
Okay. On Downtown Arts Council, how does everyone else feel?
Are we doing the art council now?
Yeah, we're talking about the Arts Council.
Okay.
Let's skip down.
I would recommend $1,000 for them.
Curtis?
Oh, I already said.
Okay.
We're fine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, you want me to go back up? East Wake Education Foundation?
What have we been given, Beverly? What have we
We've
been
been
giving
giving
them?
them 1,000.
I make a motion that we give them 1,000.
Annie, do you want to just wait to
Wait
make
on
a
the
motion
motion.
at the end and just discuss it at this point?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Shepherd's Care. Does everybody agree with 1,000 on East Wake Education Foundation?
Yeah.
Shepherd's Care, medical clinic, nonprofit.
I just don't know about that place. I just have my doubts. I don't know.
Okay, we'll go to the next one. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee, we usually give them 500.
That's fine.
I think 500 is good.
Let's cancel it. Preservation Zebulon,
I'm gonna give $1,000 to. We need to step up a little bit, help them get started. We need to, like Maribel said, there's 200 and some houses to be in the district. So
How much do we usually give them?
I think last year we gave them 500.
500 last year, I don't remember.
500.
I think it's it would benefit the town a lot. And we just need to step up and get them going, help them get going.
Everybody agree with that, 1,000?
That's fine.
How much have we got left, Beverly?
That leaves 1,500.
We got 1,500 left.
We got 1,500 left. I'd like to go down the internet, the Interact, and give them $1,000.
Okay, I agree with that.
I want to give this Zebulon organization 500.
Okay,
I think that's their ambassador to our town, and they represent us in Miss North Carolina, and they walk across the stage with Zebulon on their chest, and I just think they're great ambassadors. They're good ambassadors for the town. They're at all the events we have. I think it'd be a good idea to
Who's that, the Miss
give them
Zebulon?
500. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
that cover it, Bobby?
You said that was 500, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that totals 5,000.
Okay,
So
do we need a motion?
I'll run over the list real quick just to review.
Okay,
Okay, we got ZDAC for 1,000, East Wake Education Foundation 1,000, Reservation Zebulon 1,000, Interact 1,000, MLK Junior Breakfast Committee 500, and Mr. Zebulon 500.
But that's how much we can give one organization, 1,000, right, Bob? I just want that known.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
All right.
And 5,000 grand total is the max too.
we have a motion to accept ones we,
I make a motion that we accept the one that we gave.
your second?
Second.
All in favor? That passed. All right, do we have any board comments? Nobody. Okay, managers report.
I recognize Mr. Fitz for some budget transfers.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Just need to report some budget transfers that were made, just some cleanup, year-end cleanup type items that we have to report. In planning, we moved 375 from materials and supplies, 175 to cell phones, and 300 to postage. In buildings and grounds, moved 500 from insurance and bonds to Wakeland Utilities. Moved 2,925 from materials and supplies, 450 to cell phones, 750 to mowing supplies, and 500 to mowing equipment maintenance. Moved 4,000 to municipal complex maintenance, 2,000 from buildings and grounds maintenance, 2,000 from community center maintenance. Moved 400 from fuel to daffodil days. Police moved 5,000 from uniforms, 4,500 to salaries, overtime, 500 to vehicle maintenance. Moved 275 from miscellaneous to cell phones. And fire moved 5,000 from insurance and bonds, 500 to fringe benefits, 2,200 to electricity. Stormwater moved 150 from materials and supplies to postage, and moved 1,000 from insurance and bonds to contract services. That's it.
That's all.
That's all.
I would like to, we've gone by board comments, but I would like to thank the staff for their hard work on this budget process. I think we've got a lot of things to do in this town, and I think that is a big step on that way. So appreciate Joe and staff for what they've done this year.
I agree, totally agree.
Can I mention something too? Also on our deciding on the nonprofits, in order for it to align with our strategic plan, can we revisit all of that? I mean, can the staff present something to us that was set up the application so that we meet the specific goals?
We can. We'll come back at a future work session so you all can establish a grant program that aligns more directly with the goals that you've got for, or that are identified in your strategic plan.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?